guys, the Inside Loop podcast, and today we are talking about the New York Rangers and how I think they still have a chance to make the playoffs despite their season so far. They're 20-20-3 on the year and just lost a game in overtime to the Colorado Avalanche, but I think the Rangers played a really good game. I mean, they had the lead. They were up 2-1 with goals from Edstrom and Carrick, two guys you wouldn't think would be the top scorers in that game, and also playing fourth-line minutes along with Matt Rempe on that line. But the big thing is that I still think this team has a shot to grab a wild card. I don't think they're going to catch the top team in their division, which is the Washington Capitals, who are 20 points ahead of you, and you do have a game in hand on them, but you're 20 points back, and you haven't played great against them this season in the head-to-head matchup. But the big thing I want to talk about is the wild card, because I think the East is still open. I mean, you look at the top 5 teams for the wild card battling it out. At number 1, you got Boston at 49 points. At number 2, you got Columbus at 48. And then Ottawa's 47, Montreal's 46, and then number 5 is Detroit. So the big team to catch is the Columbus Blue Jackets, who you do play soon, but you're 5 points out with the game in hand. And I think with how the Rangers have been playing, they have been playing better hockey, right? In their last 5, they were 3-1-1. In their last 6, they were 4-1-1. And now in your last 7, you're 4-1-2, grabbing points against the Colorado Avalanche, who are a very strong team, and they have great goaltending. So if you are the New York Rangers, you just got Chris Kreider back, you just got Philip Hedl back, I really think this team still has a shot at the playoffs. Igor Shesterkin, of course, is back in goal, and that's huge. I mean, he had a really good game against Colorado Avalanche, but just a last-minute goal from, I believe, Arturi Lehkonen, and then Devon Toews ended it in overtime. Obviously, that can't happen. You can't lose the lead like that, but the big thing is that this team has changed, and they've changed for the better. The 2024 start was not good, right? At the end of the 2024, they were not a good hockey team. They were playing bad. Nothing was going right. The power play was awful. I think they went 1 for 30 or some crazy stat like that, but that can't happen if you want to be a playoff team. Now this team is starting to click more. Entering the Avalanche game, they were 4 for 6 on the power play, and that's elite stuff. And then you get a guy like Chris Kreider back, who didn't start on the power play 1, but regardless, I think he's a huge piece to this team, and just his size and presence. Chris Kreider, I'll still say it, is the best player in net front. When it comes to tipping pucks, getting in the dirty areas like that in front of the goaltender, I still believe Chris Kreider is the number 1 player in the NHL like that. He still has the strength. He still has the speed. The biggest thing for the Rangers is the big guns, right? Like with Mika Zibanejad, Trocheck, Panarin. I'd even say Lafreniere. If those guys continue to keep playing good, Lafreniere kind of took a step back. Panarin's been still good, above a point per game in the last 5 games. Vinny Trocheck's been phenomenal. And Mika Zibanejad, who has been much better as of late. I know he couldn't bury the breakaway to win it against Mackenzie Blackwood and the Colorado Avalanche, but I still think Mika has been playing better. I think he had a pretty decent game against the Avalanche. He's starting to pick up points, and we need the top guys to get going if they want to even have a chance to get to the Columbus Blue Jackets. But, I mean, the East is still wide open of making the playoffs, I think. And the Rangers have to be thankful. And even though they're 20-20-3, like I said, this roster, I still believe, is better than some of the teams ahead of them. I think on paper, you look at that team, they're a better team than the other teams in front of them. Points say otherwise, but they're playing 500 hockey right now. 20-20-3 is their record. I think they have a good chance. I really do. And I'm not trying to say that because I cover the New York Rangers. I think they have the team. They have the goaltending. They have everything that it takes to make the playoffs. And Peter Laviolette has these guys going now. This team is starting to play better, right? The power play is still good, getting better. The penalty kill is playing good. And, I mean, we look at their schedule coming up with their upcoming games, right? Thursday night, they take on the Utah Hockey Club. a team that's 18, 18, and 7, a winnable game there. Then we go to the next game on Saturday, a big game. They're taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday, and if they win that game, it's only a step in the right direction to try and get into that wild card spot. I think they're a wild card team at best. They're not going to catch the Capitals, the Devils, Hurricanes, none of that. They're going to have to go from the wild card and try to go for a playoff push like that to get back to the Stanley Cup. And then they got a back-to-back as they take on the Canadiens, a team that they did win in their last meeting, but it was a struggle, right? They won, and there was more like a thankfully they were able to win that game. And then, after that, they take on the Senators. So a lot of teams that are in front of the Rangers right now, they take on, and it's a huge, huge, huge games coming up. And then, they take on the Flyers too. Like, a bunch of these games are teams that are ahead of them in the standings. So if they're able to win those games and get points, it's huge. But if they don't, then your playoff chances are only getting lower. And it would be very embarrassing from going from Eastern Conference Finals. You lose to the Panthers in 6 games. You win the President's Trophy. And then the season to rebound and try to go back to the Eastern Conference Finals, you miss the playoffs. I think that would be a utterly embarrassing look. The Rangers have already had embarrassing stuff this year, right? With the Trouba rumors, that getting leaked out, and also being public about it. Like, hey, I know we need to make the playoffs and we need to make moves, but calling out your top guys that could be potentially traded, I think is not a great business move. I think that goes into private meetings like, we need you to play better. We need you to play better. I don't think making that publicly is a great look for the organization. But I am excited to see what the Rangers do. And then they get a big break. They don't play till the 26th after that game against Philadelphia. And that's also against the Colorado Avalanche that you took to overtime. They've played games and they've lost games that they may have could have won. But they played tight in some of these games that they've versed good opponents. The Panthers game, that was neck and neck. This game was back and forth action and breakaways and odd man rushes and chances for both teams. And ironically, it was actually a stolen win because Mackenzie Blackwood played so good, according to advanced metrics, that Mackenzie Blackwood actually stole a win from the New York Rangers. And that doesn't really shock me. There were some numerous chances that the Rangers could have scored on, especially on that 4-on-3 in overtime. Chris Kreider missing the net, or Mackenzie Blackwood getting a stop. And Mackenzie Blackwood, he's had a good season. He's had a good year with the Colorado Avalanche going from San Jose. And regardless, you got to win that game if you're up 2-1. But listen, I think the Rangers still have a really good shot at this. I think Peter Laviolette and their staff have something working. Now, I guess the downside that has been floating around the league has been Capo Caco. They traded him away. Will Borgen, all of that. Capo Caco, 8 points in his last 11. So I think that's kind of the downside. I look at the Capo Caco departure because I always thought he had a good mindset, a good defensive forward. But ultimately, it just came down to the Rangers, things not working out. And also, just when you have star players already, when you bring in an Artemi Panarin, you have a Chris Kreider on your team, and then you got young guys like Lafreniere who's starting to get that power play one time. And then with Capo Caco, it kind of felt it was hard to include Capo Caco on the top unit and Lafreniere on the top unit. But now, Lafreniere is starting to play the bigger minutes and starting to be pushed more, right? Lafreniere, like, hey, we need you to score here big time. We're going to put you on the top power play unit. So there's that. But also, I think with Capo Caco, I think I just saw a little bit more with Lafreniere than Capo Caco when it came to point production, when it came to overall offense. But regardless, of course, best of luck for Capo Caco. He's in a better situation. He knows that. But, yeah, I'm going to keep saying it this video. The Rangers still have a good chance to make the playoffs, right? The upcoming standings the upcoming schedule is huge. And you got to win those games. I think Artemi Panarin, has been great. I think, getting Chris Kreider, Philip Hedl, you're getting your team healthy. And I think the big thing also with this team is the offense. The offense needs to be, scoring a lot of goals, and they have done that. I know they only scored 2 in that game, but they could have easily had 4 or 5. And then also with Igor Shesterkin, he's been good. He has also been good in my opinion. And I think you got to maybe just ride Igor Shesterkin for these big games. I know Jonathan Quick is the backup, but I think when it comes to on this given night, who would I rather be, have in net to win that game? I'm going to take Igor Shesterkin on that bet 9 times out of 10. But I'm staring at the standings, and I think this team still has a chance to make the wild card. And of course, leave a comment if you guys think the Rangers are doomed. Are they fixable? Or do you think they do have a shot at making the playoffs? I'll still think they have a shot at the playoffs. Now, it's obviously frustrating from a divisional standpoint. You look at the top 3 teams, Washington, New Jersey, and Carolina. They're at least 12 points ahead of you. And that's the problem when you have a bad first half. And you're 2023 in the first half. And you look at Washington with their offseason, it's been phenomenal. They have a chance to win the President's Trophy. And they could actually have go on a playoff run. And with New Jersey, now they've lost some games, some close games, but they're still a good hockey team. And with Carolina, they're always at the top of the division. But I think the big surprising team I see is Columbus. And I never said it on this channel, so believe it or not, I thought this Columbus team was building in the right direction with their young talent. And it's showing right now. I mean, they're 21, 17, and 6, and they have the opportunity to make the playoffs. But you still got teams like Philadelphia, like Pittsburgh, and the New York Rangers 5 points back, and the Rangers 6. Rangers 5, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh 4. So I think this team can make the playoffs. Let me know your guys' thoughts below. But let's go Rangers. And the final thing that I am glad about is that Chris Drury did not fire Peter Laviolette. Because it's not Peter Laviolette. We've seen coach after coach after coach that it comes down to the players. It comes down to Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, Trocheck, and Lafreniere. Fox has been phenomenal. And I guess let's get into the defense before we end up this clip. The big player that I need to see more and better is K'Andre Miller. K'Andre Miller has not been good. Going from that 2022 season where he was flying up the ice, or 2021, he was flying up the ice, not making as many defensive mistakes. This year, I mean, the first 10 seconds into this game, it's dumped in, and K'Andre Miller completely misplays the puck, and it nearly actually got into the back of the net. But Will Borgen, who's been an actually solid addition in my opinion, he's blocking shots, he's using the body, and he's playing good overall hockey. So that's good, but the defense definitely needs work still. That first goal the Avalanche scored left them wide open. You can't have that. All 3 forwards, like Joe Micheletti said, were all at the blue line, and that's a recipe for disaster, and that went in. So that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. On the road to 300 subs, only 7 away. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.